Hi, everybody. Welcome back to RVAsec 13, RVAsec 2024. This year at the Marriott Richmond, June 4th to the 5th. My next guest, Mr. Corey Brennan. He's a senior information security engineer. Mr. Corey, welcome to the show, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chuck.
Now, we just had a blue screen of death thing happen right before the show. We've cleared it. So with Corey's engineering skills, we hope we're going to get through the show. Today's topic, Embracing My Inner Wizard to Defeat Impostor Syndrome. Corey, I'm very intrigued by that title. I've been accused of being artificially intelligent, which I don't think is the same thing as AI, and being an imposter and a poser. And so I like to know what imposter syndrome is. Let's start with that.
Right on, yeah. So I think there's a lot of definitions, right? I think the general definition that most people agree on is a feeling of sort of self-doubt with regards to your abilities. That's the one I focus on a lot personally, as somebody who's been in the industry straight out of college. I definitely get that struggle quite a bit. There's a bunch of other definitions along those sides, but that's the one that definitely in my talk I'll be focused on for sure. I think it sort of uniquely fits, information security engineers in general, or just information security personnel in general.
Now, I find this fascinating. So I'm going to do a personal background. I got two kids. One's a mathematician, degree in math. One has a degree in, she's a nursing, Bachelor of Science in nursing, right? They both have this. They both don't think they're good enough for what they're doing. I said, you got a bachelor's degree in nursing. That's a small percentage of people. And you got a degree in mathematics. My son works for Intel. He got the highest score in Intel's history for this thing he does. I can't say what it is, it's top secret, right? He still doubts himself. It's so bizarre. Yeah. Is this a millennial thing? Is it a millennial thing? Because they're millennials. I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm just saying.
I mean, I think I believe the definition of millennial is like kind of where I'm at. I'm sort of in between where I'm at personally. But it definitely affects sort of I think the term that the NIH or the National Institute of Health uses is high functioning adults. So that tends to be people in this sort of industries, like we work in information security, like you said, your children work in with nursing and mathematics. It's people that work in high technically focused industry pieces. It's a lot of definitions revolved around that, and I think so because I think part of it is definitely part of the social media age we're in, right? Like, and the millennials obviously are very proficient with said social media, so I think it's more prominent because of those sorts of things. But definitely like high functioning professions tend to sort of suffer from it the most, I think.
Well, another interesting thing you say, because they're both high functioning, and I tell them they're too smart for their own good. They overanalyze everything. There's not a decision making in the process. It's a talk about it, think about it, analyze it. Okay, what's your decision? I'm still thinking about it. I'm still talking about it. Very interesting. I had never really heard of this before in this term. Now, is this something unique to the IT industry? I kind of think it might be not completely unique, but certainly you have to have a lot of high functioning people in that business to do this. And I think another reason it might come into play in the security industry for IT is that, now we're not going to phrase this. You guys aren't making this up as you go, but it's new. It's not 1,000 years of security guards that I know about. It's like 50 years of brand new stuff and technology and coding, and the bad guys are on us all day long, and it's constantly being rewritten and changed every single day. So I could see we might have some doubts about whether your code's going to work because yesterday it didn't work, right? Interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely, and definitely not to speak too much into my talk, because obviously I would love for people to come chat with me about this. But there are definitely, at least in information security, I sort of see it as sort of there's three sort of big things that information security engineers and analysts and CISOs really sort of deal with, right? Like we have our big picture stuff. If you look at the diagram of all the different like disciplines in information security, there's just so much, right? Like you could really specialize into very niche things and still only see a very small amount of the giant picture that is information security. And then obviously you have your job pressures, and your job pressures are going to be a constant, but maybe more focused in where you're at. And then additionally, you have all these threat actors on a regular basis changing up their tactics. I mean, ransomware nowadays has become the big one, but just a few years ago it was worms, and before that, it's a constant sort of moving sliding scale, I think, is the term that people like to use, and I feel that definitely sort of uniquely for information security and IT people, sort of gets to where they get this sort of the imposter syndrome sort of affects them.
Now, I should have checked my notes before we talked, but what is hacker? Do I pronounce this in French? Grimoire?
Grimoire. So the hacker grimoire. That's So as my sort of talk implies, right? We're talking about wizards, right? And I think I sort of reference Clark here, right? His whole piece with technology. We get to a point in society where technology is almost imperceptible to magic, right? So you have people that just genuinely think that technology is just magic. So let's embrace that, right? I'm a wizard, right? Like I'm a security wizard. That's if I were to have a business card, I would want that as my title, right? So obviously, all good wizards in fantasy have a grimoire. They have a book that they reference, right? Mine actually is literally sitting right here, and it sits at my desk all the time. And I think one of the things that it does get pushed on in academia, which I think is good, but taking really good notes is like one of those things that I don't think gets focused on enough. And I think for me, it definitely has helped me sort of defeat imposter syndrome. So my spell book, which I'm not going to show you inside it right this second, but in here, I take the notes down that makes me look like a wizard to other people. And I'll talk about the origins of that in my talk. I've actually been doing this for many years now, unofficially, and then sort of embraced it over the last couple of years for sure.
Corey, I think this is one of the most fascinating talks I've ever heard of. And I've done 3,000 shows, my friend. This is very, very interesting. I'm going to refer my kids back to Zelda. They were super big, high-level Zelda players back when they were kids. And maybe they can conjure up Zelda's wizard or all that kind of stuff and help them on this. It's a great way to describe what you're talking about. It really, I think, could build confidence in what people are doing. And it is magic, isn't it? My grandmother was born in 1888. She died in 1988. Guess what she saw? From a covered wagon to going to the moon, right? I mean, that's magic, all that kind of stuff. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, and now we're exponentially going that way now. I mean, we're doing brain implants are just starting. That's going to be here before I die, right? It is magic indeed. And I think people in this business should be very proud that they've not only stepped into it, but are still in it because it's stressful on top of it as well. I want you guys to check out Corey, RVAsec 13, Marriott Richmond, June 4th to 4th to the 5th this year. Corey, I won't be there in person because I got some stuff going on. I can't travel, but I want to meet you and talk to you about this some more. And maybe I think you should come on my show, my other regular show, and let's do a whole hour on this kind of thing. I think this is super important.
I mean, I definitely think it is, and I think it's a testament to over the last couple of years this sort of paradigm shift where I think things like therapy and talking about like your mental stuff, I think was sort of pushed aside. And I think more recently it's been generally positively respected to be able to talk about these sorts of things. And I've definitely seen it over the last couple of years in conferences where there's been, people like the doctors of psychology coming to talk to these people. And I, obviously I'm not a psychologist by trade, but I do know how to do research. And I think that's where my focus is on this. And I'd love to come talk about it some more. I'm still scratching the surface myself. And I like to think just like in InfoSec, you're never like, a genius. You're never an expert. You sort of have to learn it along the way. And I think that's really important.
Now, I don't want to create another imposter syndrome for you as a podcaster. But I can tell you, I'm going to make you look good, so don't worry about that, my friend. All kidding aside, Mr. Corey, thanks for coming on the show, my friend, and good luck at RVAsec 2024 in Richmond, Virginia.
Thanks for having me, Chuck.